Good morning and welcome to UBTV. Kate here as always. I'm bringing this limited engagement live TV series to you this week in celebration of the Unbreakable Body being open for new enrollment. I always love doing fun things whenever we get to welcome new members into the Unbreakable Body, and this week I thought it would be super rad to do a live TV show for you. So if you tune in here every Monday through Friday this week, I'm going to have a special guest to share strategies and insights that they're using to be unbreakable in their own lives. As you know, with the Unbreakable Body, we encourage you to be awesome in body, mind, and spirit, and I have invited my friends and experts at their craft on to talk with me about what they're doing to make their stuff amazing, and I think you're going to glean some awesome insights from them today. Today's first and very special guest is one of my favorite humans because she makes my life easier and more fun, and she doesn't take a ton of things super seriously, so she's a joy to be around, and I think you're going to enjoy spending time with her as well. Her name is MIchelle Tam, and I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera here live with us now. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
I'm going to read a few things about you. Do you mind while everybody looks at you and just admires your amazingness?
Sure, go ahead.
I love it. She gets so embarrassed. It's great. MIchelle Tam, in case you don't know her, and her husband, Henry Fong, are the critically acclaimed co-creators of nomnompaleo, the Saveur Award-winning food blog and Webby Award-winning cooking app. Their first cookbook, nomnompaleo, Food for Humans, became a New York Times bestseller and was nominated for a James Beard Foundation Award. Michelle is the working mom and food nerd behind nomnompaleo's recipes and personality. Her obsessions include dark chocolate, trashy reality TV shows, and miniature toy food from Japan, which I didn't even know was a thing until I read your bio. Michelle has a degree in nutrition and food science from the University of California at Berkeley and earned her doctorate in pharmacy from the University of California at San Francisco. And for over a dozen years, she worked the graveyard shift at Stanford Hospital and Clinics as a night pharmacist. And it was partially out of that I know your cooking and recipe creating career really took off, because I remember back in the day reading your blog and how you were juggling cooking amazing food with also being a busy working mom. So we're going to talk to you about that today. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Is that like embarrassing when everybody sits and reads, like you have to sit there while we read your bio and how awesome you are?
It is, because I'm trying to figure out what my facial expression should be.
I do kind of like a pursed, like, and I'm thinking, well, that's silly because I'm just agreeing with things about myself. So I don't know. Yeah. You could scowl next time if you'd like to do that instead. But yeah.
It's all weird and awkward.
Perfect. Perfect way to start the day. Well, welcome to UBTV. You are our very first guest on this limited engagement, and I'm so stoked to have you because...
So honored to be your first guest.
Oh, well, yes. It's just, of course, that's the way I want to do things around here. But there's some really interesting things that I think you're doing that our viewers and our friends and community at Fit for Real Life and the Unbreakable Body would really benefit from. And we only have 30 minutes, so we're going to get right into the nitty-gritty of that. Sound good?
Sounds perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Especially 8 in the morning. This is awesome.
So this is a question I'll be asking every guest. So every other guest is going to have to watch your response and cue their response off of yours. No, everybody come up with your own. But here's a question that I'll be asking every guest this week. You are the caretaker of your body. What do you love most about having that job title?
What do I love? Well, I think the thing that I think I never really thought of it like that. I think up until I was like 30, I kind of just went with the flow. I'm like, well, whatever happens, happens. And I think when I turned, like, after we had our second kid, when I was like 33, I was like, oh, I don't feel good. But this must be because I'm just getting older. And all this stuff that I was feeling, like my achy joints and all sorts of bad stuff that I was feeling, I was like, oh, that's just part of getting older. And that's when my husband discovered, paleo, and he started feeling so much better. And everything that I had learned as like how to be healthy wasn't working. And when I changed and I kind of took control of how, like what I was feeding myself and how I was, the physical things that I was doing, like I just felt so much better. I was like, I actually do make a difference. It's not like this. I'm not on this like endless, like, I don't even know what it's called, but that thing at the airport that little moving walkway, like you're not just stuck going, getting older and becoming decrepit.
That's a great analogy. And what a great insight to realize that something that maybe you before wouldn't have considered as a thing that was worth doing, because paleo does kind of go against some of what you learn originally when you learn about being healthy, everything.
Yeah.
Right, and for those who aren't familiar, like if you don't know about paleo style cooking, Michelle is a phenomenal person to follow for that, and I've got all of her information in the about section of the live video feed happening today, so you can check there for more, and we'll talk more about some tips and tricks she's got for you. But how interesting to find something that is opposite what you had learned before, and maybe folks can think, what am I thinking I believe right now that the opposite might actually be true for me, whether that's changing the way they exercise or changing the way they eat or pursue their life goals or anything like that. And in fact, with your fitness program, you're doing Unbreakable Body workouts as well. So everybody who does Unbreakable Body workouts, you are working out alongside Michelle, who is, it's such an honor for me to get to help you and see your body stay strong and continue to be moving well. And I love hearing about how you've gotten that in. So if you could tell us, what's one thing with your working out that you figured out this is how it could work better for you? How do you fit it in during a busy day?
I kind of just fit in. Well, I used to try to wake up early and try to like force it in, but then my sleep was suffering and I was tired all the time. So I actually kind of time it. So I break up all those little pillars that you have. And so I kind of do that whole Pomodoro productivity thing. So basically it's this app you can do, and I think you can just find out online, but you work like certain number of minutes and then you have like a 5-minute break, and then you work a certain number of minutes and you have a 5-minute break, and then you have longer breaks. And so during those longer breaks, I'll do like, a few pillars, but I break it up. So definitely even during a 5-minute break, I'll try to do like maybe a few burpees or some squats or something, or I'll do downward dog, or I'll do something to keep me active. But like before, I used to do like chronic cardio, and, I do kickboxing for like an hour, and I do it every day, even though I just felt terrible and tired. And it's all, I'm like, why didn't I start all this stuff in my 20s? Like, can you imagine how healthy I'd be now?
Well, like I always say, we're always on the journey. And I think so I was the same way in my 20s, like chronic cardio, working out, thinking you had to put so much effort in to get any effort out, when really it was just about doing better stuff that delivered a better output. And it actually was less when it came to doing better things, which actually pivots us right into exactly what I want to first talk to you about. So you've made a career out of making delicious food while being a busy mom and a wife and now a business owner. What is like the most important thing a person needs in order to do all of that? Because is it like having a recipe? And if you have the recipe, then everything gets easier? Because I feel like I spin my wheels sometimes doing too much. I'm chronic cardioing in the kitchen because I don't think I'm doing the best, most efficient, or smartest things. What's one or two things that every person needs to really have in their toolbox to be efficient and awesome in the kitchen?
Oh, in the kitchen. I think you definitely need to have certain things in your pantries and in your pantry and in your kitchen that will ensure that you can make a meal no matter what. So I think like I always have spice blends, because if you just have like, a pound of ground beef and you have like a spice blend that you really like, that's all you need to add to it. And then you have a really delicious protein that you can add in anything. So once you have kind of a base emergency protein, that's kind of what I call it, then you can make a frittata, or you can make, you can put it in stir fry, you can put it in soups, you can put it in a million different things. So I always have kind of these emergency proteins and emergency spices. And I have things that boost umami. Like I'm a big, big fan of, so umami, for those of you who don't know, is the fifth taste. So there's sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and then there's umami. And umami is just like this indescribable taste of like deliciousness. And it's also like meatiness or kind of savoriness. And so there are certain foods that are high in umami, like naturally. Like people all know about MSG. Like MSG is so popular because it is natural. It is like just salt, the salt form of umami. But like fish sauce and tomatoes and mushrooms, those things that naturally make things taste good, it's because they're naturally high in umami. So I have like fried mushrooms, I have tomato paste. Those things you just add a little bit, to whatever you're cooking, it just makes it taste like exponentially better. Like coconut aminos, which is a substitute for soy sauce, because soy sauce itself is also naturally high in umami. So all those things just make food taste better. And if it tastes better, you're going to make it, and then you're going to eat it, and you're not going to be tempted to like go out and, you know, eat bad stuff.
That's a good point. So I see you cook with fish sauce a lot. I've been watching more and more of your Facebook Live cooking shows that you do every week on Wednesdays, and been perusing more of the recipes on the site because I have my few staples that I like to do. But then I bumped into someone who's a much better chef than I am. And when we get together and we cook, I realized like I have got to level up my game if I'm going to cook anywhere near as good as he does. So I've been studying your blog and studying more of your things. You use fish sauce a lot, and I've looked at it at Whole Foods and I'm like, I don't even know what this is supposed to taste like. Is that really something I need as a staple in my pantry? And if that is, what one or two of the things
so.
did you add? Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it is basically liquid umami. I mean, it's the whole process of how to make it sounds disgusting. And if you actually just crack it open and smell it, it smells disgusting, right? Because it's just wild anchovies and salt that have been fermented until it becomes this liquid. So
sounds delicious.
Liquid. Right. But I think the best cuisines in the world all utilize something very similar to fish sauce. So like Vietnamese cooking, Thai cooking, the reason why it tastes so good when you go out to eat is because there's like fish sauce in everything. And then like Italian cooking, they used to use something called garum, which is the same thing, basic fermented anchovies. And that's why they also have like anchovies in every dish, right? Like that's why Caesar salad tastes so good. It's because it adds this indescribable deliciousness. Like obviously if you use too much, it's going to be fishy and gross, right? So you're almost protected from adding too much because you just add enough so that it tastes good. And then if you add too much, it's too gross. And I think most fish sauce you can buy, like my favorite brand is Red Boat. They're not a sponsor, but I think they're awesome. The way that the dispenser of the very cap of it, you can only kind of put a few drops. I mean, I take it off and I like measure out like tablespoons and stuff. But for beginners, you can just, you know, put a few drops in. And anything, like it doesn't have to be Asian. Like if you Google fish sauce and like Italian food, there's so many chefs that say, yeah, I put it in, you know, I put this Vietnamese fish sauce in all of my dishes, like in a bolognese and all sorts of things, because it really, like if you're tasting something, you're like, oh, this tastes good, and you add salt, and you're like, well, it's salty enough, but it's missing something. That something is umami, and you should add a little bit of fish sauce.
Okay, so I'm getting fish sauce today then, and I will report back what happens.
But it's also like Worcestershire sauce, right? That also has anchovies in it. So that's what makes it delicious and why people like it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to be getting fish sauce today. I will report back and let you know how elevated my cuisine becomes after this. Okay, cool.
Just a little bit. Just a
tiny
baby steps.
I will call you directly if it ends up being terrible.
Text me.
Okay, so perfect. So fish sauce and staple things in your pantry are really going to help somebody make delicious food while being busy. I love it. Okay, so you handle a lot of stuff. Like, I keep an eye on you. You do lots of awesome stuff. You've been an amazing creator over the last several years of a cookbook, which we've linked to in the About section, a new cookbook that's coming called Ready or Not, which I'm going to ask you about in a second, as well as an app on the iPhone and on the Android. And is it on the Android?
No, it's not.
iPhone only then. Okay, you got to be an iPhone user, friends. And then all your blog recipes and everything that you're doing. It's incredible. So I'm sure you don't always feel like you're handling it all as well as you possibly could. Would that be true?
Yeah.
Some days?
I think when I was working nights and I was doing all this stuff, I felt like, yeah, I'm way busier. But also I was super tired because I was like working nights and, you know, my shift work was all messed up. But now I actually look at Henry, who helps me with everything behind nomnompaleo, and the fact that he works like a real full-time job, and then he helps me after work with all this stuff, then I feel like I'm really not that busy.
Okay, so in that vein then, for those of us who don't have a Henry in our lives, or we don't have our own Henry, what is one thing, on the days where you really feel like you're handling it all, you are kicking butt, you are getting everything done that you want, can you identify like what one thing is that was included in that day, whether it was a quiet cup of coffee in the morning or a schedule laid out ahead of time or a strategy that you use when you're like, yeah, I know everything's running on all cylinders today. Can you think of one?
So a lot of times I think I get paralyzed because I think I have so many things I have to do. So I think if I write it down and I actually have like a checklist for things I have to get finished in a certain order, and once I start tackling them and start checking stuff off, then I feel like everything's under control. But you just have to do it, and you have to prioritize the things that actually matter. But I do think that whole Pomodoro method really helps me, because if I don't set a timer to actually start work and know that I have to get work done in a certain time period, and then I'm rewarded with like a little break at the end, I won't even start. And so like Henry is someone that can just work nonstop all the time. And he's happy just being busy and just having like things. Whereas if I could, I would just, putz around and do nothing and just say, oh, I'm so busy, but then actually do nothing to kind of fix that. So I think for me, I really do need to have concentrated amounts of time where I have to do work to get work done.
I agree with you on that too. I think that's true. I haven't used the Pomodoro technique in a while, but the to-do list thing, it's so simple. But on the days where the night before, on my phone or on a Post-it, I make the list of the 3 most important things that have to happen that day, or I'm thinking a lot has to happen, so I make a list of all the things so I won't forget. One, it instantly shows me that the list isn't that as long as I thought it was. And then 2, I can knock things off. So for anyone who's watching, listening to this, maybe you can apply that to something you're dealing with, whether it's fitness related or not. Like stopping for a second to check, is it actually as intense or busy as you think it is? Because we're so good at inflating all of that stuff and freaking out. Is it actually as busy and as intense as it seems like it might be? But then also, how can you list it out? Or how can you try the Pomodoro technique or something similar to that to kind of, I hate to use the word hack, but like figure yourself out, like that how it could work best for you, right? And then I always follow that up with like being open to that changing. Like if you start noticing the to-do list turns into a nightmare feeling instead of a accomplishment feeling, to be open to exploring what else might work for you in that time frame, Okay, I love that. Perfect. Okay, so I think pull-ups are something that everyone, if they learned them, would benefit from. And that doesn't mean get your pull-up. That means like learning to hang on a bar and build your wrists and hand strength up, and eventually learning to work your shoulder blades in a way that you could pull without causing injury, and then get the strength to actually do a pull-up. I think that's a skill that if you learned it, you'd certainly benefit from it. So what is one cooking technique or recipe that if me or anyone else learned it, we would definitely benefit from it? And it doesn't mean we have to be a chef de cuisine tomorrow, but in the act of learning a technique or something in the kitchen, what would we benefit from? And you can't say spatchcocked a chicken, because I already learned that one. I like texted Michelle freaking out that I didn't know how to cook a chicken. She was like, spatchcock it, and it turned out amazing.
That's a good question. You know what? I almost want to say some cheater things. Like I almost think like people think that there's all these techniques. Like in terms of cooking meat, you need an instant read thermometer, because that really will ensure that your food is cooked properly. Like I know that I need to send you one. Like because people are like, oh, there's all these different ways to know if food is cooked well. Like you make your like ham like
I've done that.
If it's like this, then it's like
guilty.
Rare and blah 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 blah. No, you just need a thermometer. Oh, look, and my handy assistant Henry to show me. Like this is like the best. Like okay, this particular one is not inexpensive, but like. You just need like it'll help you from overcooking your meat, and it'll taste good then. I mean, I think there are lots of other ways that you could do that. Like when I first started cooking, when I was working nights and doing the blog, I did a lot of sous vide cooking. But I know for a lot of people that's just not realistic. But that is another way that you can never overcook your food, because basically you're vacuum sealing something like a steak. You're putting it in a temperature controlled water bath, and so all of your meat will be like 125 degrees, which is like medium rare, and never go over. Okay. And then you just take it out and you sear it. But I think it's okay to depend on little tips and tricks to help you make perfect food.
That's a perfect segue in, because as we're wrapping up here, I want to talk about your new book, because you were telling me about the concept of it several months ago, and I thought that's brilliant, because it kind of leans on this, right? Like if you have the time or not, and if you have the ingredients or not, right? So tell us a little bit about Ready or Not and what people can expect in that cookbook.
So Ready or Not is our newest cookbook that's coming out on August 1st. And so the whole concept behind it is that whether you're ready or not, you should be able to make dinner. So I think the way that our book is broken up is that when you're ready, these are the things that you should be doing. Like you can make a bunch of sauces. These are a bunch of meals that take a little bit longer, but then you can freeze them or repurpose them in all sorts of like leftover makeovers so that you have all these kind of interesting and dynamic meals throughout the week. Kind of ready is kind of what you do with all the ready stuff that you made. Like I said, the leftover makeovers. And then when you're not ready, there are meals that you can make in like 45 minutes or less. No pre-made ingredients. Some things only take like 15 minutes. But to your point earlier, like what is the one thing people should know so that they're like awesome in the kitchen? So I know it's not like for a lot of people, they just don't cook. Like it's something nobody like in my generation really has been taught anymore. So that's why like on our blog and in everything we do and in this latest cookbook, everything is step by step with a picture. So even more so than in our last cookbook, like for this one, every single step, I have a picture that says, this is what it should look like. And then when you do this, this is what it should look like. And so, you know, it's kind of taking you from point A to point B and showing you how you transform, you know, kind of magically these like base ingredients into this dish that you can eat. So even if you don't have kind of these baseline things that you need to know, like you should be able to get to from point A to point B with very detailed pictures and stuff.
I love it. I love it. It allows you to be adaptable to whatever environment you're actually facing at that day. I love it. I think that's great. So folks can pre-order that on Amazon. I've linked to that for everybody or put the title of that in the About section here. As we wrap up today's show, as I always do, I'm somewhat becoming known for telling bad jokes, Michelle. I don't know if you knew that. But we're going to always end UBTV with a joke, and I love that I get to tell it to you because part of why I tell bad jokes is to get to see the reaction of the person who hears them. Everybody ready?
Let me get my 9-year-old. Here, Ollie, do you want to hear a joke? Okay, here. And Ollie, like, you'll actually laugh if it's funny, right?
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. No pressure, Kate. All right, so you know how different states have, like, the biggest hot dog or the tallest skyscraper? You know that, right? Like, everybody's got their claim to fame. So do you know what state has the smallest soft drinks? Minnesota. Thank you for the courtesy laugh, Allie. I really appreciate that. Okay, everybody, that wraps us up for UBTV today. My name is Kate Galliette. We will see you here tomorrow morning. MIchelle Tam, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody who has been commenting, we will follow up with your comments later on today. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, guys.